Welcome to another episode of Beyond Game Day, where we talk everything sport on and off the field. Today we talk about the year that was 2025, and I've got with me Morena Mothupi, ENCA anchor, a radio personality, supports another team that seemingly doing well in the PSL. He doesn't want to tell us about his team internationally because they're not also doing well. The roofs are leaking. But Morena Mothupi, thank you very much for joining us on Beyond Game Day.
Cool.
We won't talk about what happens in Europe.
Yeah,
let's talk more about what happens in South Africa. What a year it's been.
What a year.
And there's a flag there behind you, and I think that is the biggest talking point of this year.
It really is. You know, you look at the rugby championship. Never would have thought. I swear to God, I never would have thought.
Yeah.
That loss to Australia. Never. I
no one saw that coming.
I didn't think. No, never mind the loss to Australia. Then the end of the rugby championship, having lost to Australia. New Zealand are kind of, it's like, it's not okay, but it's okay. But the resurgence of Australia under Joe Schmidt, for me, it was like, okay, we might have the Southern Hemisphere back again, firing on all four cylinders, the Boks, New Zealand, Australia, and Argentina. But then somehow, Rassie just manages to find it. And I can just never understand how he does it. You can watch all the documentaries about the Springboks and their run through the World Cups, but I think there's just things that we don't really know about what that man can do to his team to bring them back again. But I always then just decide to charge it to the squad depth. He's got a team of a good 60-odd players that all want to don the green and gold. And when you are that hungry to represent your country, you will put your best foot forward, especially off the back of not putting your best foot forward. So honestly, that rugby championship campaign for me, although it's not when we started the season, we did have visitors coming in and we dealt with them. I would have preferred for it to not be Italy because I don't think they're on our level. Italy strikes me as, remember when we had Georgia for the Mandela Day showcase somewhat? I think it was 3 years ago. That's what, with all due respect, the Italian opposition feel like.
Yeah.
It's not always that England, France, Ireland, New Zealand, will play you. It's going to start next year though. Yeah. But I feel the Italian test wasn't the kind of test we needed going into this year's rugby championship. Yeah. But it worked out. We sharpened where we needed to, gave some guys chances, that needed them. Asenati Ntlabakanya being one of them,
One Fenter.
Exactly. Bon Fenter comes in, takes over, and is like Oxen Che when he gets injured. I'm the guy that you call, So it was very impressive, I think, what happened. I would have liked to see Vincent Shtuka coming back as well throughout the year.
Yeah.
But again, it speaks to the squad depth that you will impress 1 or 2 games. You'll be put in there. There'll be another guy that's going to do a little better than you. It's not that you're doing anything bad. It's that somebody else has just raised the game. So I think the rugby championship, although we could have prepared with somebody a little stronger building up to it, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
It was entertaining.
Morena, how is it that we go down to the last weekend? I mean, I would have never thought that the rugby championship would have gotten there. To me, it was always going to be the All Blacks and the Springboks, fighting for the title. Argentina then decides, no.
See, that's the thing.
Me, I want to beat myself some All Blacks, and I'm going to beat myself some Australia.
Yeah, that for me is how we got down to the wire with this competition. The three of us have had historically, at least since the rugby championship when it started in 2012, we've just never respected the Jaguars. I mean, the Los Pumas. We've just not respected them. And even with the Jaguares in Super Rugby, before it fell apart, showed that Argentinian rugby is really coming through and it's strengthening. Because, again, you're playing 3 of the best nations in the world. Well, before Australia imploded. So their rugby was going to grow always. And it's now grown. But equally, New Zealand aren't the guys that they thought they were. And I'm going to charge that to how that's the consequence of getting rid of South Africa
in
Super Rugby. What SANZAAR did in that COVID period was a shot in the face of Rugby Australia and New Zealand Rugby.
Yeah.
They were not supposed to do that because the Lions, the Bulls, the Sharks, and the Stormers still gave them a challenge and a half, even though the Crusaders were always, the team. The Chiefs were always the guys that ran away with it. But that challenge, when they lost that and we went north was already good on its own. The Leinsters, the Munsters, the Northampton Saints, your La Rochelles and the likes. So we've now gone and tested ourselves with better opposition. The opposition we're going to meet in the Rugby World Cup. And they refined us. New Zealand, on the other hand, they're playing the Fijian Drua, with all due respect to them.
Yeah.
You're playing teams that never even do anything, in the World Cups. So it was New Zealand rugby needs a proper relook. Scott Robertson is not a bad coach. He's just come into a team a transition team that's been transitioning since Steve Hansen.
Yeah,
because even Ian Foster was in that mess of all the big boys leaving, your Reeds, your Brodie Retallicks not being what they used to be. So, and then you've got your Bowden Barretts not knowing exactly where they play. Utility back, yes, but...
And also, I think that the fact that their rule still doesn't allow international players, guys playing overseas to play for the All Blacks. But for me, Morena, I think what stood out, yes, winning back-to-back rugby championships. Sasha Feinberg's Gomez's performance against Argentina in Durban. The team performance against the All Blacks in Wellington, which has now become the Springboks' new home. The performance against France in Paris, what they were calling a revenge game. I don't understand why. And then that obliteration of the Irish scrum in Dublin. Good year for the Springboks.
A really good year for the Springboks. For me, one of the highlights is the short period of time that Ethan Hooker was afforded, and he managed to show the world how much depth we have. Kurtley Arendse is going to get injured, there'll be an Ethan Hooker. If maybe a JC Creel gets injured, there'll be an Ethan Hooker. If a Cannon Moody is injured, there'll be an Ethan Hooker. He's just showed the kind of, again, depth, talent that this country has. Because at the start of the year, I will not lie to you, I'm not the most avid of rugby followers. So at the start of 2025, you would have asked me, yo, what do you make of Ethan Hooker? Who is that? Today, I can tell you that Ethan Hooker is one of the 4 best breakthrough players of the year. That I can tell you confidently. And he's shown that with flying colors. So it's been an incredible year, but I needed perhaps to translate consistently and in its entirety in the franchise rugby. The Stormers, the Bulls, especially the Sharks.
URC.
In URC, in Champions Cup, in EPCR, I need the Lions to come back as well. We only have 4 really top franchises. They do feed Rassie Erasmus with a great deal of talent. But yeah, I'm not mad at the international boys getting called in as well and doing what they do, but I need South African franchises to go back to what South African franchises were pre-COVID.
Someone who's gotten back to where they were. Bafana Bafana.
Oh, yes.
Bafana Bafana.
Yeah.
Bafana Bafana. I think they can be more excited than the Springboks do now.
Yeah, but it's not. It's taken a whipping though, Vata.
It has taken.
It's taken a whipping.
I mean, we are.
It's taken a Belgian whipping.
We keep on. Morena, where we come from.
It's taken, and more than anything, it's been an incredible 4 years under the tutelage of Hugo Broos. I'm already starting to fear the life after him. What we know what his legacy is going to be, but what becomes his legacy by way of what platform is he leaving for SAFA to be able to still build off of that? Yes, you're not going to be consistent over the years. Spain had their brief period and they capitalized on it. Argentina had their brief period. They took the Copa Americas and the World Cup. Portugal had that brief period as well. They took the Nations League. So Morocco are in that period right now, as far down as, your juniors winning the World Cup there, getting to the semifinals of the Senior World Cup, the women doing what they're doing in the CAF Champions League and in the... So it's going to need work, but the work has already started. We've broken records that have been standing for 2.5 decades, making it to
qualifying for the World Cup.
Qualifying for the World Cup
in Bombela and not dancing.
And not dancing like we
Thinking that
did.
we qualified.
But then also, making it back onto the podium at AFCON.
Yes.
Where now we're in the conversation of being one of the teams to win it. Being responsible, by and large, for Nigeria not going to yet another World Cup. So all of that, Hugo Broos, he started that. But then who is he leaving it to? Who is he passing the baton over to? So we'll enjoy and bask in the glory of, our qualifications and being back on the world stage and our players, attracting teams from abroad. But I'm already in 2026,
Morena, you're scaring
the
me.
19th of July, because that's the final of the World Cup. And that's when Broos says,
Because there's also the Tebogo Mokoena gate. Now, when you speak about Safa, I think about how,
no, let's go into that. Like that,
and that was a sad indictment,
yes.
I think, on football administration in this country.
Exactly.
Yes, you might want to blame one person, which is a Bafana manager, for not recording a yellow card because he went to get ice.
Yeah.
But it's a sad indictment on our administration collectively.
Exactly.
Because you've got Amachita, Amajimbos doing well, conquering the continent, going to World Cups.
But whose work is that?
That is on the field. That is coaches.
Claims that?
That is coaches, and it is the people who are sitting in the offices wanting to claim it as if they actually did the hard work. Yeah. They planned, and meanwhile, their lack of planning almost led to our failure.
Yeah, the lack of planning almost led to our and
I think the Tebogo Mokoena gate epitomized the mess our football finds itself, because we've got a minister who says, I'm going to get VAR for the PSL. Obviously, you must go through SAFA.
Yeah.
Then the PSL comes back and says, we know nothing about this VAR.
And
we were not involved.
18 months later, since he took office, still no VAR. 18 months after he took office, when he mentioned it, still no VAR.
It's a sad indictment.
It really is. But for our national teams to have the ability to step above that, banyana, they've gone into tournaments with very little to no preparation. Amachita going to the World Cup as the African champions and looking like a shadow of themselves, whereas the team they beat to the AFCON title are today the world champions. So Amachimbos are going there as well, and you can only but talk about one or two players. And what do you say about those players? So it's unfortunate that our national teams have had to rise above the administrative failures. But, I suppose I will harbor that optimism of, with all due respect to him, the post-Danny Jordan reign. And one would hope that he will actually accept that he's done enough, since 2013, and that he must step away and give it to somebody else to try something different. And that once that change of leadership happens, we'll start to see our national teams being taken seriously, and we won't find ourselves still, what is it? 33 years after readmission, asking the question, why is our women's football not professional? So there's a lot that still needs to be fixed, but we've come a long way. And you credit coaches like Vera Pauw with Banyana. You credit coaches like Pito Musimane, with Sundowns, who've grown to be the backbone of Bafana. Then you credit coaches like Hugo Broos, who I don't have favorites. I choose Desiree Ellis with the lessons and that's what you want to see. Vera Pauw laid the foundation, and Desiree Ellis ran with it. Hugo Broos has laid the foundation. Who's going to run with it?
But we must say alala to Bafana Bafana.
Absolutely. And
the pain, Morena, of not going to World Cups.
I refuse to not believe that we won't win AFCON, and that we won't make it to the knockout stages of the World Cup.
I'm there. I'm with you.
We have to.
I'm with you. And then Morena, talk about turnarounds. Cricket in this country. Temba Bavuma. And Morena, again, it's a team effort. Them being World Test champions was a team effort. However, at the heart and soul of that team is a diminutive man from Kwalanga, Temba Bavuma,
who we, as media, wanted to break, tried to break. still going to try to break when he loses that first match. Because lose it, he will. At the very first test match,
Yeah, he's gonna
he will
lose
lose
it.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, he will lose it. That day will come. But to have gone for 2.5 years unbeaten as a captain, and then you cap that 2.5 years with a World Test Championship victory. I mean, they can all make the noise that they want to make, that, the Proteas don't play enough test matches, but it's the very fault of those complaining. Your Michael Vaughns, your guys from India. You complain about something that you have the power to change. We were once one of the top 5 dogs in world cricket. It was India, Australia, England, South Africa, and New Zealand.
Yeah.
We were there. We had replaced.
Even Pakistan was there.
Exactly. We had
And
replaced the West Indies.
Yeah.
We were the diaspora boys. We were the golden boys in the diaspora.
But Morena, I think the Shukri Conrad must also be given some accolades, because he has molded a team, a test team that is just ruthless.
Yeah.
And his confidence, obviously, in Temba as his captain. I mean, he said it from the onset, Temba's my captain. Obviously confidence in Temba, but just how he's picked his players and how the mentality of the Proteas, they just refuse going to a test match. They can be bowled out for 150.
Yeah.
And you think, it's over. And then these guys just come back and they just say, no.
We'll bowl you out for less.
Yeah. Something's got to be said about that, man.
No, there is definitely a culture in that team. And it's unfortunate that the culture didn't fully translate in the limited overs team, especially under Rob Walter.
Yeah.
He did what he did, got us to where he got to with the World Cup final. But, you could almost sense an energy of disjointedness and just not backing your coach. You can see when players are not backing their coach. So Rob Walter, shout out to him for making history for us. But I just feel like there was a step that South Africa missed, that Shukri Conrad has gotten right. And kudos to, see, that's another thing. The other credit needs to go to Inokunkwe, Pulitzer Museki.
Thank you very much.
That's where the other credit needs to go to, is that they realized and they quickly changed it.
And they inherited a broken organization.
Yeah.
Cricket South Africa, 4 years ago, was in fact, cricket in South Africa was broken.
Yeah. We went into the COVID actually broken.
Yeah.
2019 was one of the worst years, the darkest times.
And this is on and off the field.
Yeah. So Pulitzer Museki and Inokunkwe and what they did, and after everything, the treatment that Enoch got, with being removed, all of that, putting it behind him and really shout out to that administration.
Yeah.
A lot can be taken.
Tunzi Jonas is doing well commercially.
Exactly. A lot can be taken out of their book by our football administrators on how you can turn a ship around.
Yeah.
Especially, it doesn't have to be a ship that you didn't, collapse, but turn it around nonetheless for the better part of our future. So all the kudos to Shukri, the kudos to Temba, the kudos to all the youngsters that have also come through, all these players that have taken, your Senoran Mutusamis and your Subrayans, taking advantage of the chances given to them, because they know that you're not always going to get those chances, You get a Lutusi Pamla coming in there and saying, I will always have my hand up. If I don't get chosen now, fine, I'll keep grinding at it. Zubair Hamza coming back after all these years, The last time I'd seen him play consistent Test cricket was pre-COVID. So
Maramaka Jansen is doing the things.
Exactly. So, and then there's that as well, where we've invested. Once again, we've brought back the days of the Lance Klusners and the Sean Pollocks. You will make an impact with the ball, which is what you traditionally are. But you'll also make an impact with we are such a complete team in our Test cricket. And if we are to win our home World Cup, that same completeness needs to happen in the ODI team.
What was sweeter for you this year? Winning the World Test Championship? And I say this with such joy in my heart. Winning in India Test Series.
Winning the World Test Championship. Beating the greatest cricket nation of all time at the home of cricket. Under the leadership of the most under fire black captain.
Most underrated captain
most
in world
underrated
cricket.
Black captain in world cricket. For me, nothing. The next best thing for me will be Temba Bavuma standing at the Wanderers Stadium with the ODI cricket trophy in his hand. That's the only thing that will beat.
Short may be, but he stands the tallest in the world.
That will be the only thing that beats India was beautiful. India was great. But doing what we did at the home of cricket against Australia.
And for everyone who had said, South Africa played nobodies.
So yeah.
No one gave us a chance, eh?
So for me, that actually will probably be the sporting achievement of the year for South Africa. I don't think anything surpasses that.
Another one, Morena, I think we have to speak about is Pieter Coetze.
But now you see, you've got all of aquatics South Africa on his shoulders. Like
Yeah.
He's
doing a Cameron van der Berg and a Chad Leclerc.
Exactly.
One man carrying
exactly.
Swimming South
He's
Africa.
not going to do that for you all the way to the Olympics.
Yeah.
He won't.
But for me, it's scary what he was able to do at the World Champs.
Yeah.
Because next year's are Commonwealth Games, and then everyone starts looking at LA Olympics.
But he needs support. He needs support, and he needs support in the form of his fellow men and the women.
Yeah.
The lack...
Well, he's got Pieter Coetze, and they swim together, obviously, under Rocco Marin.
Yeah.
But I hear you. There needs to be more. I know I see a Jessica Thompson coming through, but there needs to be more. But what an exceptional performance by him at the World Champs.
For the last 2 years, I think it culminated at the World Champs.
He's been chomping at the bit, yeah.
He really has been chomping at the bit. At the SA National Champs, we had Hloni Mtimkulu who was there for us, just following and bringing us his story. I mean, we'd obviously hear what we'd hear from the Chadler Close who were, singing his praises. And you really got to see what he was doing. But again, you can't expect him to carry all of swimming South Africa to the Olympics. You can't expect he and Pieter Coetze to do it all the way to the Olympics. We did it with Chad Leclerc and Cameron van der Berg, and they carried us for a good...
And Tatiana.
And then Tatiana came in and carried us to... It cannot be. It cannot be. We cannot do to our swimmers what we've done to Akani Simpini in athletics, where you have one man. You're literally bludgeoning one man to win you something that... Imagine if you had invested more in them. So imagine if you're investing in 3-4 other Pieter Coetzes, I mean, you have your Matthew Sates, you have these other younger kids who've been coming through, but they're doing it by themselves. Also, it's an expensive sport.
100%.
People think that you're just going to jump into a pool. It's an expense. There's no competition for the Pieter Coetzes here.
So you've got to go overseas.
So he has to travel overseas. And, I'm hoping that Alan Fritz, Swimming SA's president, is actually helping as best as he possibly can.
I know they've got some sponsorship behind them now, but more needs to be done.
More needs to be done.
Not just by the organization, but by corporate South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think government as well. And we keep on saying government, but more has to be done. But well done to Pieter Coetze. Another one. Another 2 athletes who were exceptional. In fact, a number of them actually. And I go to the track itself. Finally, Akani Simpini gets something on the global and individual medal at the World Indoors.
Yeah.
He's been grinding it out, Morena.
He really has.
He was running fast times in the Diamond League. It's just a pity what happened at the World Champs. Then you got Prudence, Sekhodiso. And I don't want to mention Caster's name with her because Prudence is just Prudence.
Yeah.
We were sitting with, and there's a generation of Zakiti Nene.
Yeah.
Was the fastest in the world in 400 until the final at the World Champs. But kudos to our athletes, man.
Yeah.
They've really come through this year, done one of the Diamond Leagues, run some of the fastest times
to
be on the World Indoors.
We mentioned Caster Semenya because of what World Athletics did to her.
Yeah.
She's now decided to channel her energy towards helping the Prudence Khorisos of the world. So she's like, okay, you don't want me to dominate and take over your world. I'll cook someone who will do it. Cook someone who will do it. So, we speak of Prudence Khoriso walking in the footsteps of Caster Semenya and seeing what Caster has done in the fight for, firstly, her own dignity, but also for the pride of this country. She fights for South Africa and she doesn't have to say much. You just have to see it.
Yeah.
So Prudence Khoriso, we can only hope that she's really taking all the pages out of that Caster Semenya book. But they've been absolutely incredible, and it only but excites me, about what is coming in the next years. It's unfortunate that SCOC is not having money poured into it. In fact, they're having money cut from them. But if we as a country can plead with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture to pour some money back into SASCOC so that they can really put because we've only got what, 2026, 2027,
Yeah.
and half of 2028, for a proper intensive program. I mean, you've got already Australia opening up a fund for their athletes and their country for Brisbane, So what are we doing as a country?
Yeah.
Why must we wait for us to host the Olympics? There needs to be an intensive program that the Pieter Coetzes and the likes are already under, with the support of government and SASCOC. And I'm telling you, you will not be coming back with one track medal and two medals from the swimming pool in 2028.
And then just two quick ones. There are, in fact, we've got the world's strongest man as well. And Rhino Smith just came out of nowhere. Another surprise performance, but just what a good performance.
Yeah. Unexpected.
Yeah.
Honestly. And then, again, it's one of those sports where these competitions happen in foreign countries and we don't get to find out about these guys because, those in power, in leadership positions only speak of them post. And then even when you do speak of them, post their achievements, you're not telling us their full story. So then we as media, have very little to go on and to dig deep into. So, but shout out to him. Shout out to him and what he's done and the little bit of attention that he got, because so much in our world of sport in South Africa has happened with especially the traditional sports that we love. One can only hope that he doesn't just fade away again and then comes back with another world title, So it needs to be, these are the kinds of athletes who really do go out there and represent us quietly. They win quietly, but it's time that they start getting celebrated loudly, even in their quiet efforts.
And two, I think, finally, Morena, I think, I get quite emotional when I talk about these guys because they've bucked the trend from a race point of view. And I think it's something that South Africa just keeps on, but they've announced themselves on the world stage. Saud Variawa, winning the stage, become the youngest stage winner in the Dakar.
Yeah.
And Dylan Naidoo. And let's finish off with Dylan. But Saud is proving himself. He's won the SA Rail Raid now. But at such a young age to win a stage at the Dakar, that's special.
With your Nasser Al-Attiyahs still there,
Yeah.
your Sebastian Loebs still there, your very own Janelle de Villiers still there, your Latachans who are also actually the ones who are taking over from the Janelles, but you're supposed to be taking on from the Latachans, but you're doing what you're doing. But honestly, I want to, give the credit to Gazoo Racing.
Yeah, Toyota Gazoo
and the investment in South African rally talent. Because
now his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's there's more to come. For me, in fact, I want to go 2 Dakars back. That's where I started seeing these, green shoots of talent that is not necessarily making us forget about the Janelle de Villiers, but we don't always then talk about, Janelle de Villiers because that's all Qatar have got. They've got Nasser Al-Attiyah. They don't have anybody else that'll take the baton from him. Janelle's got a couple of guys now that he can hand it over to and be like, listen, I've
done my part.
I'm just now here to guide you and show you the ruthlessness of this sport and this industry and this sector that is rally, and there's 2 more at least in the next 2 years. I think we're going to come out. Now they're just starting to pop out like that.
Yeah,
and it puts South African engineers, especially of the cars, in a position where those are the other ones we need to talk about, like those that are behind with the spanner, and the nuts and the bolts. Those are the guys we need to talk about. So Dakar 2026, 27, 28.
Saud might.
Oh,
he's going to be champion now.
It's going to be a couple more stages.
Yeah, and then lastly, Morena, I think Dylan Naidoo, first player of color to win the SA Open, first Indian player to win the SA Open, does it at the Durban Country Club, where was it 5 decades ago? One Papa Sogalam won and was never able to get his prize, and he had to be given through the window.
I think the year, if I'm not wrong, stand to be corrected, was 1968.
Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah.
1968.
Yeah. And when that happened, and obviously it was a rain-drenched SA Open, it almost didn't happen actually the last day, the final round, but they forced through the flooding and whatever. And it's almost like the heavens and the gods were saying, we recognize a special moment. First for Dylan, but also for South African golf, but also for South Africa. And it was just justice for an injustice that was done to a man and to a people for so long. And that's why I say, to me, it was just so emotional watching him win, because there was just so much there.
You know, without even saying too much on that, a huge shout out and congratulations to his family, to his community, because we talk about expensive sport. That probably is top 3 most expensive sport, if not maybe top 5 most expensive sport in the country. And you're all by yourself. With that sport, just like tennis, you're all by yourself. But probably the loneliest of sport, you know, because it's unlike now when you've got with Live Golf, you're working in teams and things, but like golf has never really been a team sport. So shout out to his community for investing in him, whatever the sacrifices his family has had to make for him to be where he is. I mean, we've been talking about the likes of the young Sim Tiger, you know, coming through. You know, you've got your Robin Williams who are also on the tour. You know, these guys have been chomping at the bit. They keep going, and it's evidence that the tides are turning. You know, that this is no longer a sport for the few. You know, it's no longer a sport that's geographic or demographic. It's everybody's sport. And all you need to do is just go to where you would least expect it and you will find the talent. And dare I say it, go to the people of color and you will find the talent. Invest in them. This way, corporate South Africa. Invest in them. And you'll see the talent. It'll come out. And Dylan Naidoo is only gonna soar. Whether he decides to join Live Golf and make truckloads of money, or he decides to, you know, go take on the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, he is going to soar. And that SA Open victory was only but the start of it. Because you look at all the South African competitions that happen over the festive period, that's where it all starts really for South African players. Your Tristan Lawrence's, your Gary Higos and all the likes. That's where their year and how they go already going nicely, well-oiled into your PGA Tours. He's coming. He is coming.
Jaden Shaper
as well.
NGC.
They are coming.
Morena,
South African talent is coming.
Yeah, wonderful, Brian. You talk about return on investment, giving people opportunity. We're going to have a nice conversation with former Springbok Tim Dlulane. We talks about his journey. One of the episodes of Beyond Game Day. And again, fascinating story of a guy who comes from nowhere and he reached the pinnacle of his sport and then went on to do that in business as well. Yeah. It's been a wonderful year, Morena.
It really is.
On that emotional note, there were also tears of joy as well.
Ooh.
So thank you to the Springboks. Thank you to the Sawoods. Thank you to the Prudences. Thank you to Hugo Broos.
Yo.
Thank you to the Springbok women's team, man. Thank you, Pieter Coetze. You know, I know there are people that are talking about the Bones winning, you know, 2 domestic titles. But I mean, just thank you to our sportsmen and women in this country who have made this year, probably Morena, one of the greatest years in South African sports since readmission. Against all odds. Thank you, Morena. Yeah, and that was our yearly wrap on Beyond Game Day. As I said, please join us for our next podcast where we'll be speaking to former Springbok Tim Dlulane, celebrating him and his journey in rugby, but also celebrating the person he has become and the contribution that our sportsmen and women continue to make in this great nation of ours in South Africa.